right, guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Joy, and today I have a very special guest. Today I have none other than San Diego-based guest Cedrice Webber with us. Hello, Cedrice.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, welcome to the Joyful Beauty family. So today, Cedrice and I are going to be talking alopecia. We're going to be talking about self-love, and we're going to be talking about her amazing new single. And we cannot wait to dive into this conversation. It's going to be an amazing one, so make sure you watch till the end.
Well, happy Alopecia Awareness Month.
And to you too. It's funny because you have alopecia areata actually, so this is really in honor of people who have that specific strain of alopecia. And a fun fact is that alopecia areata is actually the most common form of alopecia. Really, it just means often people will have spots. Sometimes they lose entire huge spots on their scalp. And then the other most common form of alopecia is alopecia universalis, which is what I have, which means universally people lose their hair. So that means they may lose their lashes, they may lose um, their eyebrows. It's a little bit more severe, but it does have its perks. I've literally never had to shave, so there's that.
That is definitely a perk.
It's a huge perk. It's a huge perk. So I'd love for you to tell me a little bit about your journey with alopecia. When were you first diagnosed?
Yeah, I was diagnosed at 10 years old. I was started wearing wigs at 10 years old, which looks a little awkward. And like I said before, my family spent a lot of time making sure that I felt normal or that I was normal. So I never struggled with that at home. It was just, really compensating for the fact that outside of the home, that's where I felt like I didn't know where I fit in. I didn't know really my worth, or I had no confidence already. Like, you don't think about building your confidence when you're 10 years old. You just think about living until people start bullying you and you're like, whoa, I need to start supporting myself and defending myself, sticking up for myself. And so it wasn't until around high school I started becoming more comfortable, um, kind of letting go of the bullying, letting go of like all that childhood trauma.
Yeah,
Um,
what would you say really helped you make that shift later on in life in high school? What made you feel a little bit more confident?
Removing the wig. Stop.
Wow.
Yeah, that was completely like the step that I needed to take, but I didn't take that step until I was 24. But coincidentally, it was at the same time that I became a singer. So I stepped out of the normal lifestyle anyway. So, you go to school and you just like you're just a little piece in the chessboard, and you run around like everybody else, and then you start finding your sense of identity. And so
Yeah.
for me, that started at 24, and I think my desire to seek for my identity, to seek um, what I was meant to do in this lifetime, didn't come until a little later. When I could have been spending time thinking about what I wanted to be when I grew up. When I was a kid, I was worried about wigs and what I looked like and the
Hmm.
kids bullying me and social status and all that stuff. So I was kind of a late bloomer in that whole field, growing up and figuring out my confidence at 24. And so when I started singing, I realized, I'm on stage and I feel the most comfortable. I'm dancing and I'm doing something that I know that I'm confident in doing. I've been doing this since I was 8 years old, 5 years old, singing, and finally I get to do it and get paid. So what I did learn is that you really have to embrace your uniqueness when you are out in the real world, right? What school is like teaching us, trying to teach us about the real world. Well, I got out there and I realized that people really love when you're unique, when you're confident, when you figured out the kind of person that you want to be, and you motivate and inspire other people to do what they want to do. So that's kind of where I started to really figure out, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to let go of the wig. I need to start embracing who I am and what I look like, and look in the mirror and be happy with what I see. So that's where it all started. 24 years old, trying to be a singer out in the world.
I think that's so beautiful, and I think that's so huge. I think regardless of whether you have alopecia or not, I think people can resonate with the fact that when you find your true gifts, when you start to really excel at something, you find something that's your own, the confidence just grows exponentially, right? Like you're getting that affirmation, but beyond that, you don't even need that affirmation from others because you feel like you're living a lot more purposefully, a lot more intentionally, and that's so awesome that you've been able to find that gift through music because you're such an amazing, talented singer.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have been knowledgeable or about like asking myself those questions
Hmm.
unless I was surrounding myself with that, you know. So when I started singing, I met musicians, and those musicians were very spiritual. And I really appreciate that because that started opening up a plethora of questions for myself. Like, what is the highest version of myself? And what does she walk like? What does she dress like? And how does she interact with people? When I walk away from everybody, like, what are they going to say about me? So those were some really character defining things that I started asking myself after I met these musicians. So it was definitely the biggest blessing ever. And you know how that ties into my alopecia is that alopecia didn't become the defining factor of how I moved.
Hmm.
I know that you had mentioned that before too for yourself. When was I know you're interviewing me, but I want to ask you like
Yeah.
what was that point in your life when you started to define who you were outside of alopecia?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I had one pivotal moment, but for me, I think similarly, it was that I started to affirm my identity more in living more purposefully and intentionally. Um, I would say one moment was when I was in high school, I got quite involved with our church's youth group and we went on a missions trip to the Dominican Republic. And I remember working with the kids there in the school there. I remember helping to do fundraising for that, and it was interesting because as I was there teaching, I really felt like, hey, this is something that I'm really good at. Hey, I'm also surrounded by, similar to you, very spiritual people, people who thought with intention, people who would just really rally for me and support me. But it wasn't like in a way of pity, and it wasn't in a way where I felt like I had to fit in. It just felt like I could just be myself when I was doing something purposeful too, and through I was doing something I was good at. And I think that combination really helped me feel a lot more confident. And then in turn, as I went to university, I actually did my bachelor's in journalism, and I found that I started to affirm my identity more in being like a really strong writer, and getting creative in that way really got me excited, and shifted my focus away from those feelings of self doubt and those feelings of self pity because I felt like I was doing something I was good at. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that because it's almost like when you're younger, your world is this small, and if
Mm,
anything breaks in there, if anything is different, then your whole life like is like oh, you know,
yep.
totally breaks down.
Yep.
But if you have so much more in your life going on, and your life is
Yeah.
this big, one little thing that you know, like not having hair, isn't going to demolish your life. It's just
Wow.
a part of your life. That's it. It's not your entire world. So I love that.
I love that too because I think it also, in a way, gave me really strong resiliency skills. You know what I mean? So it's like, um, if something goes awry at work, if something goes awry in my relationships, it's like, yeah, it sucks, but because I'm used to dealing with struggle and with pain in that way, and because I am not so easily swayed by external factors anymore, it's really helped me navigate life in a much more like intentional way. Whereas before, to your point, a little small thing would happen and like I'd be out for days, right? Like I just like be mopey and in a terrible mood and just like devastated. Now I'm less like affected by external factors. If you could give one piece of advice to any younger people who are struggling with alopecia, what would that be? We talked a little bit about the importance of not internalizing external words, whether they're good or bad. But I was wondering what your top tip per se would be there.
So the advice that I say is create a space that allows you to be the person you want to be. So whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, whether you're, you know, have alopecia or not, I would definitely say whatever chapter you're at in your life, especially kids. You know, they're going through a lot just internally. Create a space that allows you to be the person that you want to be, and that means like taking a look at your friends and saying, "Is that the kind of friend I want?" Taking a look at your parents' habits and saying, "Is that what I want to include in my life?" You know, because that will set the tone for who you decide to be in the future. That's definitely my advice.
No, I think the point you just made is excellent because really those sentiments really apply to people at all stages of life. So that was a really good note there. Um, that kind of brings me to my next question. Like, how do you practice self care, and what does self care mean to you?
So in that time, I always want to come home to like to a bath with like Oreo cookies on the side and and some candles in the corners, you know. And so that's what I started doing for myself. I started kind of dating myself, doing things that I wished that someone else would do for me that would make me fall in love with them. I
Wow,
started doing that for myself because then I started falling in love with myself. I really like myself. If someone else was just like me, which is my boyfriend basically, I would probably fall in love with them. And I don't think it's arrogant. I think in order to love someone else or to show empathy for someone else, you know what I mean, or compassion, you have to be able to do that for yourself. So
it's
that's what
huge.
I that's what I've done, and that's what I continue to do. I mean, even something as small as our self-care, like facial hygiene and stuff,
Yeah.
um, massaging your face and taking time to like massage your own feet and soak your feet in warm water, you know, making green juice for yourself, like saying like positive affirmations while you're making the green juice so the energy from your body goes into the juice. When you drink it, it's just like all beauty and joy. So it's stuff like that. It's that kind of stuff that I use on a day-to-day basis as self-care. So I don't know how to put that in like a definition, but those are some actions that I take.
So you were talking a bit about music. Let's get into the music. Talk to me a bit about the music you've been working on since you left The Voice, and then we can talk a little bit about your most memorable experiences from The Voice.
Yeah, so the music that I'm working on now is is out. So I have one single called Room to Grow, and I wrote it when I was in New York. Um, I lived in New York for about 3 months, and I was acting off Broadway. And during that time, I was very lonely. I was very broke, and I didn't know what else I was going to be doing for the rest of that time there but acting. I just was not happy. So I wrote a song um, to comfort myself. And the song is a reflection of conversations that I have with God in my mind. Um, God being a higher power or just anything. I use God as a way to everyone understands what they mean by God. So whatever whoever anyone else's God is, that's who I'm talking to. So I just wrote a song kind of encompassing this conversation between myself and God offering unconditional love to me, and me kind of apprehensively declining it. Like, no, no, it's okay. So
Mm,
the chorus is God saying, "We can give it room to grow, but you don't need to be alone." So he or she or it is assuring me that even though you're alone right now and you don't want my love, I'm still going to be here giving it to you.
wow,
And when you're
wow.
ready, I'll be here. So the verses are kind of like the first verse, the first half is actually me singing, saying like, um, I can demystify a few things. I can give you my love unconditionally, basically. Um, I'll reason with your insecurities, um, and I'll hold my promise to us. I want to be someone you trust. And so the second verse is actually my friend Mark Pelli. He produced the song. I finished the song after I met him 2 years later. And he's actually singing it. And he's apprehensively declining my offer to give unconditional love. And so it was a fun way to execute the song where it was a man and a woman. It's just more digestible, instead of
Correct.
making this big, you know, thing that
More
you
tangible,
maybe some
yeah.
people don't. Yeah, more tangible. It's really cool, and I think a lot of people can identify with that relationship as well. Maybe not having explored themselves enough, and they feel like they're not ready to um, accept unconditional love because they don't know how to give it.
Hmm.
Um, and so I
Or
think
perhaps because they haven't experienced it truly before either,
exactly,
right? Yeah.
exactly, exactly. And so it kind of plays off of that kind of relationship. And that can be a relationship with person or with God or whoever it may be. So that's where it came from, and that's what it's about. Mark Pelli is a great, great musician. He's the guitarist for the Canadian band Magic. And
Oh, very cool.
yeah, yeah. So we got together a couple years after I wrote the first half of the song, and then we finished it together. So it was just kind of cool that the process took so long, but it was one of those, you write a journal entry, you throw it away, and you're like, I'm not gonna do anything with it, and then you do something with it, and you make this whole masterpiece. So
So when were you in New York? When did you first write that song?
I wrote it in 2017, December of 2017,
Oh wow.
and then I finished it in June of 2019. And then I just released it August 28th of this year. And so it's been out for, I don't know, about a week or so. So,
Very cool.
yeah,
Very
good old
cool.
COVID.
Good old COVID. Where can people find your music?
They can find it on Spotify and Apple Music, iHeartRadio, YouTube.
What would you say has been your most memorable music moment this year?
I mean, yeah, I think it would definitely be just my overall experience being on The Voice.
Yeah.
This year, it's been that. And like I mentioned before, like being on The Voice meant that I was able to meet a lot of people who have alopecia and a lot of fathers who have kids who have alopecia who don't know how to handle it, don't know how to be there for their kid. So that's been really, really rewarding for me. Musically, though, I think my experience working with all three coaches, that's like that was more than what I bargained for. Um, I at least wanted to get one chair turn, and I did. John Legend. I wanted to be on John Legend's team from
That's
the gate.
epic. Yeah.
Got a chance to meet Ella May. She was great. I was low key hoping she'd be like, "Hey, you know what? We should collaborate."
There's still
um,
time.
yeah, there is still time. I'm here, Ella. So then I worked with Blake Shelton, and honestly, the my favorite day on The Voice though was working with Blake Shelton and oh my goodness, James Taylor. That rehearsal when I went up against Tanisha, that was just absolutely. That
That
was
was
like
epic.
one of my, one of the best days of my life, and it wasn't even because of who they are
Mm,
in the public eye. It was just because it was like a therapy session. Me and Tanisha went out on that stage for a rehearsal. This was before cameras, and James Taylor was just so present, and Blake Shelton was so present and comforting. It was, I don't know, I did not expect that experience. So that was honestly one of my favorite memories, and I'll always um, take that to heart and cherish it. And then working with Kelly Clarkson, of course, that came when everyone had to be quarantined. So I wish I could have spent more time with her, in person. But honestly, she's like a fire rocket. Like
yeah.
it was, whether you're in person or you're
Her
on the
energy like
screen,
transcends the
she
screen,
does.
eh?
Oh yeah, 100%. She knows how to be there for her people.
Yeah.
So that was great. Yeah.
What what's something that you've learned from her that's really stayed with you?
Um, I think she more so reaffirmed some things for me. She reaffirmed some things for me, like this wasn't um, filmed, but we had a rehearsal one time, and I was gonna sing Oceans, a song by Oceans. I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the wind. Oh yeah, it was called Oceans. Yeah. So I was gonna sing the worship song Oceans, and there was just a lot of production going on. And she was like,
Mm,
you know what? Cedrice is like a show on her own. Cedrice's voice and her presence just needs to be spotlighted. Like
mm,
it, Cedrice, like the artist, she's an artist. She's not like this accessory on the stage, you know. And she just kept kind of like explaining that, you know, kind of like when you see Sade on you know on the stage, it's like your eyes go straight to her
yeah.
and however she's moving, and there
You're
doesn't have to be a
swaying with
lot.
her. There's a, yeah.
Yeah, there doesn't have to be a lot going on. So that just reaffirmed for me that um that yeah, I don't need a whole bunch of glam and all that stuff. And that was really nice because right now I think I'm at a place where, because I haven't come out with an album, I'm still trying to figure out what kind of music I want to put out there. And I don't want to put out pop, but for some reason I keep writing pop, but I don't want to come out with that, you know. So
What's your aversion to pop?
I it's the thing is, when it's popular, that's when it's considered pop, right? But
Mm,
when I think of pop, I think of the things that are on TikTok, the
mm,
songs that are on TikTok that are
okay.
talkable, that are tweetable, like with those little,
That make
you know, you
perfect
can take little snippets
captions
of
that
it.
are very, yeah.
Very simple, you know.
Yeah. A little more superficial syrupy.
That's kind of what I how I hear it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And for me, I think it just has a little bit more dimensions musically.
Yeah.
That's how I would like to describe my music.
Okay.
I think everyone has a little bit of that Taylor Swift in them, singer songwriter, like back when she
Yeah.
was first doing country, you know.
Yeah.
And so a lot of that comes out when I write. But to take it to that next level of who I am turning into, because sometimes people see what your potential is before you're actually bringing it out. And
Wow.
Marcus Kelly kind of like reaffirmed, like, yeah, that's working for you. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, yeah, that definitely feels comfortable. I keep going to the Taylor Swift thing, but this is where I want to be, and I'm glad that other people see that. So musically, I think there's just more dimensions, more color, more texture than just like the yeah.
Totally.
I don't know that's what the is called. Pop.
It was giving me TikTok vibes. I get it. I get it.
TikTok. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can't wait to see what's next for you. You have such an eloquent and bold and beautiful voice. And I can't wait to see what your version of pop looks like. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Cedrice. This was such an amazing conversation. I cannot wait to stream your new single. And I can't wait to have more conversations with you in the future.
Thank you. I'm excited for it too. Text me, schedule another talk because we have to do this again.
We have to do it again.
Having me, this is fun.
Awesome. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you subscribe for more fresh beauty and self-love content. And make sure you check out Cedrice's latest single. I'll leave it below in the description box. All right. Bye for now, guys. Keep growing and keep glowing.